Welcome back, fight fans. Welcome back. Let's just dig right into it. Dontae's Biased Nation, Boxing Nation. Let's dig into it. I get hundreds of requests, every week just to do, an expose, I guess you should say, against Dontae's Boxing Nation. And, we call it Dontae's Biased Nation. And the reason why we call it Dontae's Biased Nation is for the simple fact that Dontae shows nothing but bias and favoritism towards PBC fighters. He shows a lot of favoritism, towards those type of guys. And, he always makes the debates racial. And, I'm not the kind of guy that cared about what Dontae did. But when our subscribers request these things, we have to be unbiased and we have to give the people what they want. So let's just break it down. Dontae's Biased Nation recently did a video in regards to Canelo Alvarez vacating his belt at 168 pounds. And in that particular video, he went over a lot of things. And one particular thing that he went over was that Canelo Alvarez is fighting Danny Jacobs. And since he vacated his belt at 168, that would make no sense for him to look to fight other opponents because he has so many, opponents at 160. And then he tends to mention a Jermall Charlo. I swear this guy's in love with Jermall Charlo. Every third sentence about Canelo, Danny Jacobs, Demetrius Andre always has to circle back to Jermall Charlo. Triple G, he circles back to Jermall Charlo. He's in love with Jermall Charlo. And if you look at this whole situation, the fact that you even mention Jermall Charlo in the same sense as Canelo Alvarez makes no sense at all. I don't care about his standing. I don't care about any of that. Jermall Charlo is nowhere near the same level as Canelo Alvarez. So for you to say, and the words come out of your mouth, that Canelo, you would hope that he wouldn't drop his belt, that would negate any opportunity for him fighting Jermall Charlo. Why would Canelo ever need, and basically he's trying to imply that I hope that Canelo doesn't avoid or duck Jermall Charlo by saying that, because why would Canelo ever drop a belt at 160 pounds when clearly he's already stated that he wants to be undisputed? So if he stated this, you already know this. You already know Canelo Alvarez wants to be undisputed, and to be undisputed, you have to have all the belts. Why would he drop a belt to avoid Jermall Charlo, who's at best a C-plus level fighter? A C-plus level fighter. He's not an A-level, elite level fighter. He's a C-plus fighter. And arguably, he got a gift from the judges against Matt Korobov in his last fight. So the fact that you keep bringing up Jermall Charlo shows an inherent bias to PBC fighters, and maybe even fighters that are, because you're racially inclined to root for. That's what it's looking like when you do that. Dontae, at some point, you have to be honest and unbiased when you approach things and fighters. And he's always talking about he wants to debate people, but you have to be honest in regards to how you feel about things and where you stand. You can be a fan of Jermall Charlo and not be a fanboy. But the fact that you're a fan of Jermall Charlo and you try to bring other fighters down like they're avoiding him or fearing him, that makes you a fanboy. And you have to be real and honest in regards to that. Now, on the reverse end, the one guy that he's constantly always criticizing and badgering and talking bad about is Triple G Gennady Golovkin. And whether you like Gennady Golovkin or hate him, Gennady Golovkin is a proven fighter, an elite level fighter, a fighter that, in my opinion, would stop Jermall Charlo. He's proven a lot more than Jermall Charlo. And Triple G is not the kind of guy that would have lost or even had a competitive fight with the Matt Korobov. I believe Triple G would have stopped Matt Korobov within 6 rounds. So this is the different levels of fighters. Triple G has shown no problem with being able to cut off the ring. In Jermall Charlo's 2 fights against other C-level opponents, he showed an inability to be able to cut off the ring and exhibit top level punching power against an Austin Trout and against a Matt Korobov. So you have to understand that boxing ability isn't what people think it is, and not even the power, because if you don't have the IQ in the ring to be able to cut the ring off, to hit the guy with the right shots at the right time, to break him down slowly over the rounds and then get him out of there, he just doesn't have it. He's missing it, because you have to understand that Jermall Charlo is pretty much as good as he's going to get. I believe he's 28 years old, right there on the cusp of his prime. So you have to honestly evaluate how much better can he get. This is pretty much the best you're going to get for him. Maybe he can slightly improve a little more, but even improving a little more, it still doesn't make him an A-level fighter, an elite level fighter, or a top fighter. So he's going to constantly have problems. And we all know why that Dontae is constantly putting down Triple G is because he's bias because he doesn't want to recognize Triple G's accomplishment. He feels Triple G was so hyped. But the funny thing about all this is at least Triple G was a world champion at 160 pounds. Has Jamal Charlo won a world championship at 160? No, he didn't. And Jamal Charlo hasn't even been in there with the best at 160. And it's not because anyone's avoiding him. It's because Jamal Charlo is the unified bum slayer. And that's no diss at Jamal Charlo because he chose the PBC. He chose that route. He says he's a free agent. Why wouldn't you go to the zone where all the other world champions is? Because that would only lead us to believe that you're looking to avoid the biggest and best fights. And Dontae is the type of guy that would cheer that on. You know, he has a lot of criticism for Anthony Joshua in regards to the Deontay Wilder saga. And I find that funny as well because at the end of the day, when you look at all these other fighters, everyone that he support is PBC based. And it's not because Anthony Joshua did anything wrong. It's the fact that he's not with who he wants him to be with. If Anthony Joshua was with the PBC, he'd be the best fighter in Dontae's Biased Nation's eyes. You have to be honest and unbiased when you evaluate these channels and these guys, because these guys pretend to be boxing analysts and they're nothing more than fanboys. Once again, unbiased as always, this is Ibfp. Please share, like, and you must absolutely subscribe.